Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think the evidence is clear from all of the witnesses that right now in the United States we are facing a shortage of high-skilled workers in technology, advanced manufacturing that our employers are just not able to fill. And I represent northern Silicon Valley, and I spent the last week going across the valley talking to these employers, and it's clear there are positions today that they would like to fill. They can't fill them because of not having enough workers. That means we don't have enough students coming up through the pipelines. And I think the short-term solution for that, of course, is comprehensive immigration reform. That includes increasing the H-1B visas. But the long-term solution is what I believe we are here today to talk about, which is making sure that children in our own country are able to fill those jobs one day because of their STEM education. And their STEM skills will be their ticket to the innovation economy. And so there is certainly a role for the Federal Government to play in helping our children obtain those skills. I believe education should always be a national obsession but a local possession, and relying on local stakeholders, I think, can really guide us. And so I wanted to first talk about, as we talk about and consider the proposed reorganization of STEM, we need to make sure that this reorganization does not come at the expense of valuable programs like in my district at Lawrence Livermore Laboratory. We have the Computational Science Graduate Fellowship Program, known as CSGF. It's played a vital role in our lab's effort to have that pipeline of qualified graduate students who can go into our workforce. A number of students have written to me about their concerns about this program being consolidated into NSF. I've heard from students Jeffrey Oxbury, Teresa Bailey, Brian Gunny, Sam Schofield, and Dr. Jeff Hittinger, who runs the Center for Applied Scientific Computation. And I was hoping, Dr. Ferrini-Mundy, you could address the concerns from these students that moving this away from DOE could affect their ability to obtain meaningful training and then move into the workforce.
Thanks for your comments and for your question. The NSF is absolutely committed in this reorganization to making sure that we have individual conversations, and those are well underway, with every single agency and every single program that's involved in this graduate fellowship consolidation. And our plan for this is fairly straightforward, and we hope is one that will serve the needs of the mission agencies and the students that they support really quite well, and that is to enlarge our Graduate Research Fellowship Program, which is a very strong selective program. It spans 11 different disciplines of STEM and has 180 different fields of study that are allowable, so it's quite likely to span the areas of computer science and engineering and mathematics that would be the likely fields that the students in this Computational Science Graduate Fellowship Program are in.
Great. And I'll move to Dr. Holdren. Dr. Holdren, you told my colleague Joe Kennedy that vocational schools were a priority for STEM under the Educate for Innovate program. And I went back and looked at the memo that was prepared for us from your office regarding this program, and that Educate to Innovate program was only mentioned once and is not listed as having a funding source. And also, I didn't see any use of the word vocational training. And I share the same concerns that Congressman Kennedy has, which is that, of course, we want to make sure that all of our students can learn STEM skills and perhaps an undergraduate and graduate or doctoral degree and maybe start the next Google. But not every student is going to be able to do that. And it's just as important that they're able to participate in the innovation economy in other roles, which will help them grow into our middle class. And so what will be the role of vocational training in this program?
Well, as I've already said, vocational training was not a major focus of the COSTEM review, which had a narrower focus. But the role of the community colleges in particular is something that has been of interest to the President, of interest to the OSTP and the OMB and the DPC. And we have been generating, in part with substantial private resources, partnerships, as I mentioned before, that address that problem by improving the curricula at community colleges to better match the jobs that are available in those regions. When you ask where are the resources coming from, this is one of the domains in which the private sector has really stepped up, precisely for the reason you mentioned, that high-tech companies are not able to hire the workers that they need. And so they know they have to feed the pipeline, and they're stepping up with their own resources to do that.
And I'll conclude with a concern. I don't think I have time for another question, but I am concerned that right now it appears that as far as underrepresented groups, there is not an assigned lead agency. I understand all three agencies could deal with them right now, but if we are going to move to this lead agency process, which I have concerns just like Congresswoman Edwards does, I do hope that we're not in the scenario where underrepresented groups have no representing agency. So I would like to see underrepresented groups have a lead agency that focuses on them. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.